The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Okay, welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We talked about a lot of baseball today. We talked about Trout and the Angels and if they would ever be willing to trade him, and then some possible lighthearted trade scenarios for Mike Trout. We talked about the Cubs, talked about the White Sox. We're talking now about the NBA and NHL Playoffs, and that'll be to close out the show. Tonight, just a reminder, the Spurs and Thunder play Game 6. That's in Oklahoma City, and OKC has a 3-2 lead. I never thought that they would have a lead in this series, but here they are, up 3-2 with a chance to close it out.
And the funny thing is that in the Greg Popovich era, in elimination games that are on the road, the Spurs are a mere 2-10, where the Blackhawks with Joel Quenneville are almost like undefeated in elimination games. Mm-hmm. If they're on the verge of elimination, that means they're winning their next 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, exactly. And the Spurs really screwed up in Game 5 at home. They had a chance to close out. It was a close game all the way throughout, and they just let Russell Westbrook go right to the hoop the last 2 minutes of the game, and you can't let that happen.
And was it Game 2 of this series that the refs badly blew on that final seconds on the inbound pass?
I think that was Game 1, if I remember correctly. I think that was Game 1 where there was a bunch of bad calls, and the Oklahoma City Thunder player that was inbounding the ball at the end elbowed Ginobili. Ginobili fell down. The whistle did not blow at all, which is ridiculous. So something should have been called. The Thunder ended up stealing that game. And then, it's ridiculous. It's a 3-2 lead for the Thunder, and I think I tweeted it out. I was guaranteeing that the Spurs would win in 6, that the Thunder would not win another game, and I was wrong about Game 5. And if I'm wrong tonight, then I'm really going to be wrong. I don't know who's going to win this game. I'm going to guess San Antonio wins and forces a Game 7 at home. But, you never know. The way Russell Westbrook's been playing, the way Kevin Durant's been playing defense, he's been outstanding, especially defensively. I have a feeling that this one's going to go down to the wire again, as most of the games have gone. And, it's going to be very interesting. If you were guessing, who do you think's going to win this game?
Probably Oklahoma City.
Really? Okay, so you think Oklahoma City is going to win and move on and play Golden State?
I think that'd be a great series. Because Durant and Westbrook are on fire.
No matter if the Thunder and Spurs play, this is what we all predicted pretty much. It's going to be Golden State versus either Oklahoma City or San Antonio. Most people probably saying San Antonio. I think San Antonio is going to force the Game 7. I think they're going to win tonight, force the Game 7. At that point, I don't know how much confidence is going to be left because Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant have been playing so well. I think they'll probably, step it up even more in a Game 7 on the road. And so I think they could possibly win a Game 7. But talking about the other game, the Golden State Warriors moved on last night after beating Portland in a very hard-fought series. That'll be something to keep an eye on, too, because Golden State was really worked hard. And so they could be tired, depending on when this next series starts. They could be tired for either San Antonio or Oklahoma City, who have been tired themselves. But, the Trailblazers really worked the Golden State Warriors well. And it's amazing how far the Trailblazers went, considering they lost, 4 out of their 5 players to trades and
free agency.
Free agency mostly, with LaMarcus Aldridge, Wesley Matthews. They lost Robin Lopez, and they lost Nicholas Batum. So they lost a lot of people, and it's amazing that they were able to make it that far. It really shows you how good of a player Damian Lillard is, and C.J. McCollum has been really good. He came out of nowhere.
Most improved player.
Yeah, no question about it. When you look at the Eastern Conference, Cleveland has steamrolled. They have not lost a game in the playoffs yet. Does that surprise you at all that they didn't lose a game to Detroit or Atlanta? I think it surprises me that they didn't lose to Atlanta at least once.
They're just on fire. I never thought Atlanta was that great. I'm kind of not shocked because Irving and LeBron and Love are all playing well as a team now. They've kind of gotten that together finally.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly very interesting NBA playoffs. It's been very entertaining too, which is what we like to see, especially when the Bulls aren't in it. That way you can root with sort of out of bias and not be like devastated when they lose. But yeah, it's going to be Cleveland, and they're waiting. They've had a lot of time off in the playoffs because they've been sweeping. Game 6 between the Raptors and Heat will be tomorrow night in Miami. Toronto has a 3-2 lead, and I'm so glad they do because I hate Miami and I hate Dwayne Wade. That goes back to my DePaul angst against him when he chose Marquette over DePaul in the early 2000s. But
one of the few Chicago basketball players to stay within the area.
Yeah, to stay within the area, which makes it so much worse. I mean, he went to the rival school. I mean, DePaul's main rival really is Marquette. I mean, it used to be Notre Dame, but it's really Marquette now. And, to stay in the same conference, in Conference USA at that time, and then he claims that DePaul didn't recruit him hard enough when Pat Kennedy, the DePaul coach at the time, was one of the best recruiters in all the nation. He recruited Quentin Richardson and Bobby Simmons. So, it's just ridiculous. So that's how I hate Dwayne Wade. It goes all the way back to that. He also doesn't like the Bulls or respect them really, so I don't like him for that either. But I'm thinking Toronto. I'm hoping that they can close this out against the Heat. I'm not so sure. I feel like this has Game 7 in Toronto written all over it.
Toronto's been very good in the postseason. I mean, obviously Cleveland's the most likely team to come out of that conference.
Yeah, no question. Because I think Raptors against Cavs, a lot of people want to see LeBron James face his former team in Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think the more intriguing matchup is if Toronto makes it and faces Cleveland, because they were the two best teams in the Eastern Conference all year. And, they came out, I think that the Raptors only had 5 or 6, maybe even less of that, more losses than the Cavaliers did. So, they're pretty evenly matched. DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, probably besides Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, they're probably the best backcourt in the NBA. They're definitely top 3, top 4.
Yeah, remember when Fred Hoiberg thought Rose and Jimmy Butler were the best?
Yeah, that was long ago. That let me tell you, and Rose was never on that level anyway. So, but yeah, I think if Toronto can make it, I think that'll be a very interesting series. I can guarantee you that the Cavs won't sweep Toronto or Miami if they end up playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. I just don't see that happening. But either way, yeah, it's setting up again for the Warriors to have a pretty decent shot of repeating.
Could you imagine if Cleveland sweeps the winner of the Toronto-Miami series and then they just go and lose in the NBA Finals again?
Yeah.
Could you imagine their only 4 losses in the playoffs were all in the NBA Finals? That
would rip the hearts out of the Cleveland fans. I mean, it really would, because they steamroll throughout the playoffs, and then when they run into Golden State, they just see how much better the Warriors are than every other team in the NBA.
That is like a good point, though. I mean, Golden State is on another level.
Yeah, and it's all thanks to Steph Curry, and he makes everyone on the court a better player, like a much better player.
And even in his absence, Draymond Green looked like a superstar.
Right, and that's another player that the Bulls passed up on in the NBA draft.
For Marcus Teague.
Tom Thibodeau screaming, "Take Marcus Teague!" And they didn't do it. I could just see him like screaming like at his house or something, because I don't think he would be in New York. But I could just see Tom Thibodeau screaming at his house, "Don't take Marcus Teague."
I mean, he wanted Draymond Green.
Please don't take Marcus Teague, please. Draymond Green's right there for you. Same with LaMarcus Aldridge in 2006. I think it was the 2006 draft where the Bulls passed up on him and ended up taking Tyrese Thomas.
Well, they drafted Aldridge and then traded him immediately.
Yeah, they traded him for the rights to Tyrese Thomas. And
that was such a Bulls move right there.
They thought Tyrese. I mean, the one thing about the Bulls is that they always think they're confident. They're like very confident when they make a pick. They're like, no, this is going to work.
They think that.
And how many times does it work? It doesn't.
Their front office really has way too much confidence in what they do. Like they think every free agent signing, every draft pick, and every coaching hire is like a great move.
And they come out and they say it, and then we're like, okay, we'll try to believe you. And it just doesn't work. I mean, the Pau Gasol thing, has that worked? Not Not really. I mean, Pau Gasol's been good, but not a difference maker. Not when they added him, they didn't get like a piece to go to the finals or anything.
Or when they went with Mike Dunleavy, like in the last offseason when they thought that they were expecting him to be a huge contributor,
right,
and a very important piece of the championship run. And as Boris Bernstein said, if you're expecting Mike Dunleavy to be a key piece in a championship run, your roster is not very good.
No, and then of course you got the Derrick Rose debacle where he can't play and he blows. This is going to be his last year, thank God. So I'm very excited about that. And of course, there's been reports a lot of the other players hate Jimmy Butler. They don't like he's getting peripheral treatment. I think I said that right. He's getting special treatment is what they feel like. So I don't know. But that's about it for the NBA right now. But that's going to be an interesting game tonight between the Spurs and Thunder for sure. Another game tonight that's going to be very interesting is Game 7 between the Nashville Predators and the San Jose Sharks. I can't believe these are the two teams that are I can't believe that either Nashville or San Jose is going to move on to the Western Conference Finals.
You're right. And where the Blues and Dallas were playing. Like, it's really amazing that you arguably have the three best teams in the conference playing each other so early, like the Blues and the Blackhawks, and then the Stars and the Blues.
Right.
It's unbelievable. Or then you have, the Sharks beat the Kings, and that was very impressive.
Yeah.
Except still, right now,
and Nashville beat Anaheim, which was impressive too.
It's the Sharks and Nashville playing to go to the Western Conference Finals, which, that is just absolutely unbelievable. And this has been an exciting playoff, so don't get me wrong. I'm still furious that the Blackhawks aren't still playing because, it's not the same without the Blackhawks not playing, except
right.
It seems like every round there's multiple Game 7s, or you have, an exciting series like the Penguins and the Capitals.
Yep.
The Dallas laid an egg last night in their Game 7.
Oh,
Game 7,
I was so
the
mad.
Blues Stars in Dallas for Game 7, and then the Stars lose 6-1.
Yeah, that was supposed to be an overtime win. Somebody should have scored in overtime, either Dallas or St. Louis. Someone should have won that game in overtime. That's what it should have come down to. And
right.
It didn't. And it was over before it started.
Right.
What sucked.
And it's unfortunate because arguably the Blackhawks could have been playing the Predators or the Sharks to go to the Stanley Cup because they could have gotten by St. Louis, which they almost did. Well, next year they'll be back. Obviously they weren't as complete of a team as they had been in past seasons, except they could have beaten the Sharks or the Predators, and then they probably would have beaten whoever from the Eastern Conference.
I think losing Oduya was probably the biggest thing.
That's an interesting thing, though. If they were able to keep Oduya and just didn't get Trevor Daley in that trade with the Stars, they just kept Oduya, they might have been able to get by the Blues because they could have been able to roll out four defensemen.
And the thing is, once you get by the Blues, the Hawks are better than San Jose. They're better than Nashville, I think, because those teams don't have great goalies. Like
and
Corey
Dallas
Crawford.
didn't look like they played very well against the Blues either.
So again, you're a game away from possibly making it at least to the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, it's very interesting. Who do you have in the Game 7 tonight?
I'm going with the Sharks.
You're going with the Sharks?
I think they're just on a great streak. They're performing very well.
I'm going to be rooting for the Sharks, so I'll also go with them.
I think they match up with the Blues better than the Predators do.
Yeah, I guess I'm hoping the Sharks go to the finals because I don't want to see St. Louis go to the Stanley Cup final. So yeah, and then on the Eastern Conference side, it's going to be Pittsburgh against Tampa Bay. Real quickly, who do you think is going to win that series?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay?
I think it'll be Tampa Bay. I'd like to see Pittsburgh because I do like some of Pittsburgh's players. Except Tampa Bay, that would be something that if they lose in the Stanley Cup last year, and then now that the Blackhawks can't knock them out, they're destined to win.
Yeah.
So you never know, except it's going to be tough without Stamkos because they don't know when he's coming back yet.
I've heard, I think a lot of people are saying Tampa Bay might be the best team left in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
They might be, and if they get Stamkos back, they know that the Blackhawks can't beat them again.
Right. All right, so that's going to do it for us today on the Sports Renegades on SportstownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We will talk to you next week. Have a good night. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportstownChicago.com.